The department has worked diligently to build up some capacity around effective crime analysis and in an effort to build what's widely referred to as a CompStat model. We have used our personnel and assigned crime analysts to each of our geographic areas where they work directly for the area commander and to provide those commanders with real-time crime information. This has led to successes in a couple areas. The first area is with regards to gang crime. I know that the media reported that we had reassigned our street gang unit, and that was correct. But in light of some of the ongoing trends in East Oakland, the commanders, using the analytical tools available to them, were able to assemble some people to create a small gang unit to specifically address some problems around two of our Latino gangs. That gang unit has been very effective. I know for a fact that they have arrested at least two suspects for some of the handful of gang-related homicides and shootings that we've had in this city, and made a number of other arrests for lesser crimes, including narcotics and possession of firearms. The second area that I want to talk about is residential burglaries. Unlike our other crimes that are down, our more serious violent crimes which are down, residential burglaries were up. A couple of months ago, they were up as much as 21%. We use our analytical tools and our analysts to recognize the problem and what it was all about, and then actually called out to the community with regards to this problem. And we used our neighborhood services coordinators and our problem-solving officers, which are Measure Y funded, in order to start to develop some real solutions around this problem and get the community really behind our effort to reduce the number of residential burglaries. While still up 9%, we have been able to reduce the number from 21 down to 9%. So we continue to make progress in this area. We continue to ask the community to be diligent and pay attention to their surroundings, but I do want to note that we are making some significant progress in knocking down these residential burglaries.
For the last 2 years, we have been focused on the investigation and resolution of violent crimes, including sexual assaults. To that end, we have assigned 3 people in the crime lab, full-time, who do nothing but address the backlog of DNA sexual assault kits. These are as far back to 2003 up until January of this year. So those are now being processed and entered into CODIS with the hope of finding a match. Some of the other things we've done to reduce crime and identify and charge the offenders are we've added investigators to homicide. We now have 14 full-time investigators in homicide, up from 10. And we've also added a team, a street-level team, that will support the investigation by going out back to the scene, conducting additional canvasses, identifying additional witnesses, looking for evidence, and then, of course, apprehending suspects as well. The result of all these efforts is we've gone from a 26% clearance rate to a 42% clearance rate. So it's been a pretty phenomenal program. We intend to continue the program because it's very successful. And that 42%, by the way, that represents people that have actually been arrested. The media has reported in the past on the UCRs, the Uniform Crime Reports. All you need to do that is make an arrest. They don't have to be arrested and charged. The UCR clearance rate is actually 50%, but I prefer for the media and the public to actually know how many people have been arrested and charged, and that rate is 42%. But nationally, the UCR rate is 50%.
I'd like to speak briefly about 2 things. As you know, recently our tactical operations team was put back into full operation, and this weekend they participated in the Urban Shield, which is an operational readiness exercise between and including agencies from around the state and actually internationally. And as a result of that weekend participation, they finished first in that exercise. And so I think that's a wonderful thing to put out, that it shows that, again, our team is in operation, and our team is showing the signs of this increased improvement that we've seen over the last 6 or so months, and are operationally ready. The second thing I'd like to speak to briefly is our animal services. I'd like to take this as an opportunity to thank the numerous volunteers that do spend a tremendous amount of hours at our animal shelter. We currently have about 1,500 hours a month in volunteer time that's spread out amongst 170 volunteers. During the last year or so, our adoption rates have gone up 50%, which is nearly 4,000 animals that we've placed out into adoption. And again, it's a wonderful thing that the community and the volunteers are able to assist us in doing that. That wouldn't be possible had they not been there.
I want to find out from you where you stand on this idea of legalizing sideshows.
I think the mayor and I stand on the same lines. I think what's been reported isn't what he and I have discussed and have concurrence on. What we had discussed on this, and my feeling is this, is that illegal activity on the streets are unallowable, period. You saw the response to that at my direction this weekend. We put out heavy resources to enforce the law. We will not have any tolerance in the city of Oakland, as I sit in this seat, for illegal activity on the streets. However, at the same time, I do believe that we've been dealing with this from what I've been reported from those who have been here for 20 some odd years. And we've done suppression for that 20 some odd years. And I kind of put it in this aspect. If you continue to run your head into a wall and you keep getting the same results, you have to step back and look at something at a paradigm a little differently and see if there's other options. And the mayor and I talked about it, and I remember talking or sharing with him, and he talked about racing in the streets at years past, and I remember in Southern California, same thing, kids driving fast on the streets. We moved that to racetracks, where it was sanctioned, where they were taught, where they had liabilities, where they had overhead, where you turned a very dangerous activity that was taking place on streets into a safe activity that was functional. We turned a dysfunctional, illegal activity into a functional, sanctioned activity that was done safely. So what we had discussed was not legalizing it at any point. What we discussed is our other options. Now, even with that, not all kids, if we were able to do something like that, not all kids are going to go participate in this other sanctioned event. So we will continue to enforce the law. I'm even pushing my staff to think of things differently. And here's what I'm thinking, and it may be controversial out there because I haven't vetted this, is that along this line, for those who are violating law, someone is organizing these things. And if someone is organizing these things and they end up in a crime, much like if you are part of a crime and you organize that crime and go do a robbery, you should be held accountable. And one of the things I'm going to start asking is those who organize this and it turns out into a loss of life on the streets of Oakland, they should be held accountable for that too if they're organizing these events that take place on these streets.
So you're saying you support having sideshows sanctioned in certain specific areas, but also to crack down on the illegal ones that are taking?
Not exactly. Specifically, what I'm saying is legal activity will not take place on the streets of Oakland. We will address that strongly. However, if there are opportunities or other options, and I don't know by the term sideshow, everybody that I talk to has a different definition of what a sideshow is. Illegal activity will not be allowed in any form. But if there's something that we could do productive for youth, that may include cars, that is safe and legal, we will support that. But anything outside of that is unacceptable from my point. Mayor, did you want to address that?
If I might comment, look, words have great power, and to use the term legalize at this particular point misses the point. As the chief indicated, what we're looking at are options of how we may sanction this matter. As I've said publicly, number one, sideshows are illegal. They are dangerous to the participants, they're dangerous to the observers, they're dangerous to the community. So suppression is very important. But simultaneous to that, we have to look at this on a multidimensional level. As the chief indicated, many of you in this room are much too young to recall, but I remember as a kid, drag racing was a real deal, and it was a violation of the law. It is now a sanctioned activity that is a multi-million-dollar industry. So what we said was, let's step back and think a little bit about this as to whether or not we can figure out a way to move this off the streets, to move this out of the realm of legality, and to remove this out of the realm of danger. And as Chief Kazicki pointed out, this is not something new. They've been looking at this for a long time. What Chief Batts and I are talking about now is how we deal with the illegality of it and whether or not there are other options that are available to move this outside the realm of being extremely dangerous. Finally, I would just say that with respect to the participants, as I've moved around, many of the young people indicate, look, if you don't want us to watch sideshows, then give us options. And that's what we desperately need to do. In the context of the our Oakland's approach to the stimulus effort, what we're trying to do is connect the dots, deal with these matters on a multidimensional level. Public safety is due north for us. In this economic downturn, there are great challenges there, but we hear, we understand, and we're trying to communicate in that regard.